Hi, everybody. I'm Danny. I'm an alcoholic. How's everybody doing? Very nice looking. You don't even look like alcoholics. We clean up so good, don't we? I almost fool myself sometimes, when I put nice clothes on, but I know the story. I'm like, nah. Yeah. So thank you, Dave. Where's Dave? Where is he? Hi, Dave. Thank you for the 72 phone calls. And between when you asked me and now, thank you so much. Thank you for my host, Bill, for picking me up and bringing me razors this morning so I didn't take half my face off. And to all the lovely people that have been so kind to me since I've gotten here, gotten to know Allison, who gave a great talk last night, fantastic talk, and the committee putting this thing together, so wonderful. Welcome to you if you're new. If you're new and you feel weird, those are called feelings. Probably you owe everybody money and everybody's mad at you. Welcome to AA. Nice to see you over there, Bob. And then finally, so nice to meet book cover Bob. I have some of your best work in my house. I got my sponsor this beautiful fake crocodile. I guess it was a cow that walked around thinking it was a crocodile for a long time. Had an identity crisis. Bob got a hold of that cow and made two beautiful big books for me. And a lot of times when I go to conferences over on this side of the world, I'm given a book with my name on the spine. So I want to thank you. And you can get them at Big Book Covers. Is that it? BigBookCovers.com. Act now at BigBookCovers.com. Yeah. So, all right. So we're not drinking, right? We're not drinking. We're in Pasco. And you got $200. We could get into a lot of trouble with 200. That's what I call a good start. That got Mike right off the stage right there. That's all. Here he's coming back. He's back. Okay, so, I'm going to remember even though you forgot. There you go. So I'm going to tell this story for Allison and some other people. I'm going to tell you, before I get into my pitch, I'm going to tell you this wonderful story because I love the most important relationship I've ever had with any person on the planet is my sponsor. And don't you just think, how many people here think that you're your sponsor's favorite? Of course. And I suggest when you're with your sponsee brothers or your sponsee sisters in front of them, ask your sponsor, aren't I your favorite? All right. So I was over at my sponsor's house when I was 8 months sober in this recovery. And the only thing I believed is that I believed that he believed. And that was it. And so I was there, and so my sponsor speaks all over the world and does book studies all over the world and stuff. And he was busy on the phone, and I was in there preoccupying myself, waiting for him to get out the phone to read him a 4-step. And he has this bookcase with all these beautiful books, Zen books and a lot of AA books, and then there's the book. It's the big book that he goes around the world and teaches the 12 steps with. So if you ever seen Young Frankenstein, I'm thinking when I take this book out, the bookcase is going to spin around. Or like the Pink Panther or something, laser beams are going to come out because it's the book. So I look over my shoulder to check, and he's not paying attention, so I slip the book out. So if I come to your house and your book is on your table, or we're at a book study and it's before the meeting, I'll ask you, can I look at your big book? You always ask permission because you don't want to see their sex inventory by accident or anything, Wouldn't want to go there. And so, what I'll do is I'll turn to page 132 to see if you have my favorite line in the big book. We absolutely insist on enjoying life underlined, so I can make a connection with you. So that's why I want to see does Earl have that underlined? So I open it up look over my shoulder, make sure he's not looking, and I peek through there. Oh my God. Not only is it's bracketed with dark, like a Sharpie ink. And there's an arrow straight to the margin. It says, "This is Danny's favorite line in the big book." I look over my shoulder to make sure he doesn't see me, And then straight down through the rest of the paragraph, half the page on 132, at the bottom, it says, "Danny is your favorite sponsee. The puddle formerly known as Danny." I closed it real quick, put it away. I didn't want him to see that I saw that because I didn't want to embarrass him, because we're dudes, you know what I mean? We're men. So now I go around to my home group and all the people in my little inner circle, and I make them say, "I want to tell you something, but you have to make the most solemn oath. Pinky swear and spit on it and anything, you got to swear on it. I'm going to tell you this story." And I tell him, and Earl can never know. So fast forward, about like 8 years later, Earl's getting ready to move to Scottsdale, so I come over, and I'm going to help him do some stuff. And now I have a belief, and I've changed fundamentally as a man because of Alcoholics Anonymous, and it's in broad daylight. He's on the phone again, and I want to see the book. I want to rub it all over me. Favorite, you know what I mean? Come on. So I open the book up, and I look, and sure enough, there it is. Danny's favorite line in the big book. Wait, what? That's my handwriting. Somehow in the course of the 15 years that I was going in and out, when I would come over, I must have, taken the book off the shelf and wanted to remind him so he would know when he read his book. I mean, the arrogance, right? That I would write, and by the way, he is your favorite in case you forget. And so I told him when he got off the phone, and we both just had a big laugh about it. And so I wanted to just share that story with you. So, it's a funny story. If you don't have a favorite line in the big book, you might want to get one, because it's the quietest kept secret in AA, the big book. We all know those people in the 12-step program not working the 12 steps, but we're not going to talk about that. So anyway, my father was a colonel in the Air Force. I'm an Air Force brat. Moved all over the place. I had two brothers. One of my little brother's name was Daryl, and my older brother, David, 3 Ds. I was Doom. So I'm the scapegoat. I'm the middle, right? Everything was my fault, right? If I had so much potential, if only I would apply myself. Remember those? Right? And everything was my fault. I had like the Target logo on my forehead. No matter what happened, it was me. Right? Where are all the people that other people were not allowed to play with in your neighborhood, right? Here we are. Don't let that little Danny kid come over here. So my first memory, my first tool for living, my first mechanism was out. I wanted out. Every speaker just about that I've ever heard in AA, one of the main things I've ever heard, the common thread that we have is, I always felt different. I always felt less than. I never felt enough. I felt like I landed on the wrong planet wearing the wrong Earth suit, and people were always upset when I was around. That Barfly movie? That movie Barfly? And Faye Dunaway, she says to Mickey Rourke, she says, "People, don't you hate people?" And he says, "No, but I seem to feel better when they're not around." Story of my life. You know what I mean? And, typical alcoholic, I couldn't stand you, but I couldn't afford for you not to love me. I need you to love me, but I hate your guts. Sounds like a country song, don't it? So my first tool for I wanted out. I wanted out of the house, out of the family, out of the relationship, out of the car, out the window, out of my room. We had an Ambassador Rambler station wagon, and the seat in the back faced that way. They wrote a movie about it called The Way, Way Back. Right? And every time the family had to go somewhere together, I would jump out and get in that seat so it was away from the colonel's moving fist. Because anytime, when he heard something going on in the back seat, he didn't look to stop, pull the car over and say, what's going on? No. It's just, you know what I mean? There's something going on back there he didn't like, and I was out of range back there. Right? That's what I wanted out. And I started even before, about 6, 7 years old, people started asking me the question they were always going to ask me, and you probably heard this too. What's wrong with you? Why do you do that? What's wrong with you? I don't know. All my life, people would ask me that. Professionals with diplomas on the wall. What's wrong with you? And I couldn't tell you what's wrong with me. All through my life, as I burned my life down and my life would fold over on itself over and over, and I would choose a drink over the love of my life or the dream of my life or the job of my life. And when you asked me, why did you do that? I couldn't tell you. And then when I read the doctor's opinion, it said that I had a phenomenal craving and an allergy of the body, that it explained a lot. And it sure did. Because I thought I was a loser and a bad person. That's why I deserved what was coming to me. But we'll get to that. And don't worry, the story has a happy ending. So I'm like 7, 8 years old, and I'm now they call it acting out in a dysfunctional family. I was just being crazy. I learned that I could get attention by being the class cut up and the nut. And I was the kid that, would jump a bicycle from another rooftop to another rooftop because someone said, I dare you. Remember those words? I dare you. So my next tool for living was, I'm an abused child. My father would hit me with a belt buckle, fist, extension cord, and, just bad stuff. And so I learned that if you hit something hard enough and enough times, it would leave you alone or agree with you. That's what I knew. And those were my tools until I was 12 years old. Out and kill you, right? And when I was 12 years old, I was living in Washington, D.C. We were stationed at the Pentagon. Nixon was in office. And these kids, I had really long hair, right? I could play the drums. It was the only thing I had going for me. I had been born with the gift of time. I was given time. Nobody ever taught me to play the drum. I could just play the drums. And I was going to be the next John Bonham, right? So when I was 12 years old, I could pretty much play Led Zeppelin note for note. And I smoked Camel cigarettes. I smoked Camel cigarettes from the time I was about 9 years old. I started smoking Camels. No filter. Manly. If I'm going to die, I'm going to do it in a manly way. Not like the vapes now. Everything smells like pancakes. Or what's up with that? Come on. What happened to the Marlboro Man? Huh? A cupcake. Really? Okay. Never mind. Outside issue. So I go down there, and I've been smoking Camel cigarettes, and I never had a sip off a beer like you did the sips of everything. I never had a drink of nothing. I never had a vanilla extract or anything, right? And so we went out to this baseball dugout, and these kids had, my first drink was Boone's Farm strawberry wine. As my sponsor would say, no grapes involved. Not a grape in the bottle, right? It's like your MD 2020 there, right? And there was the big bottle, right? And I knew, it came around to me, right? And I just knew instinctively to drink the whole thing. Because if you stop drinking, you might not get it back, right? So I just and they're all going, dude. I don't think they said dude then, but bro, probably bro. Just, hey. And I just kept drinking. And they tried to pry it out of my hands. I just kept drinking, drank the whole thing. And then that gasoline thing, and that thing happened. It happened. Just like that. I felt that thing that separates me, not yet, not that. Before that happened, that thing that separates me from the normal person, right? It changed my perception of reality. I felt engaging, handsome, funny, taller, right? And I felt close to these guys, right? And the only thing that changed was alcohol had entered my body. That's all that happened. And then I started throwing up the way that, like the way that we throw up. When you expect to see like your socks come out, And I remember holding on, and like, it's all in my hair, and I'm thinking, man, if this doesn't kill me, man, I'm doing this again, man. Because it was the best day of my life. Because up until that life, I walked around like a knot, waiting to be afraid of my father when the headlights came in. Hold your breath when he comes in, and everybody's always mad. Just walked around and just afraid, absolutely afraid. And the way that I would deal with fear was violence, right? And for the first time in my life, I felt like I went, oh. So there I'm standing there with long hair, with strawberry puke in my hair. And I know this is Alcoholics Anonymous, and I absolutely respect, love Alcoholics Anonymous to death, and I know it's about singleness and purpose, but this is what happened next. They were passing around this thing, but they weren't smoking it like a cigarette. I smoke cigarettes. I know how to smoke a cigarette. You kidding? But they were doing something. They were like, and you want to go. You want to say, excuse me, what is that? But if you're an alcoholic, you can't say, excuse me, but I've never done this before. You have to act like no matter what it is. Okay, so we're firing a bazooka. Okay. Right. Sure, of course I've done this, you know. So it's coming around, and it wasn't like that weed that they have now that NASA is growing, you know. You know what I mean? Like one hit can cure pancreas cancer, you know what I mean? So this was stuff that had seeds in it, and you had to get your record album, and you had to clean the seeds out, right? Or you had to get a shoebox cover and clean them seeds out, right? I made a mess back here. So as it's coming around, I'm thinking, well, I'm going to take the biggest hit anybody's ever taken off a joint because I got to be best. No matter whatever terrible thing we're doing, I have to be the best at it, right? So and the seed that was in it popped. And it stuck right here in my head. And we're all just looking at my head it's smoldering. You could smell over the strawberry puke, you could smell my skin burning. Best day of my life. Because I was finally, for the first time in my life, comfortable where I was standing, doing what I was doing with the people I was doing it with for the first time ever in 12 years of my life, right? And I had been a terrified kid, beaten up, gone through crazy stuff, moving all the time and just all kinds of stuff, you know? So anyway, so after that night, fast forward a little bit, I found right away, right after that, I found pill form alcohol. Seconal, Tuinol, you know, just like a bottle, 2 bottles of gin in a pill, right? And that was my thing. And then I found Southern Comfort. Turned out to be my drink of choice, improperly named. No one was ever comfortable when I drank Southern Comfort. Me or the neighborhood or the sheriff's department. But it was half round, that half pint. It was rounded, and you could stick it in your boot. And we moved to San Antonio, Texas. So now I became a Texan, you know, because you got to adapt. If you're an alcoholic, you know, wherever you walk into, you become that bar. You know, whatever they're doing, I'm a chameleon. Right? Whatever song's on, I'm dancing to it. Oh, really? We're riverboat dancing here? Oh, no, now we're line dancing. Okay, whatever you want me to do. I gotta fit in, even though I hate you. I want to fit in. I need you to love me. Okay, will you buy me a drink now? So I'm living in Texas, and I'm like, y'all this and y'all that. And, you know, I love your Mississippi accent, man, because it just makes me feel at home. And, my father was the head of the Inspector General's office in San Antonio, Texas. We were stationed there. And all I had going for me was the drums. I was getting beat a lot at home. So one day I was getting a beating from the belt buckle. You know, I would get beatings with the belt. And if you put your hand back there and tried to block, then it got turned around to the belt buckle. And the only reason I talk about this is because I got through this. And I lived my life with a bullet in my pocket for his head. And I have forgiven him since then. And I'm just saying this to anybody that's come in here with that kind of a thing, that kind of resentment, that I was able to get free of it, right? Because I can't live a life of love if I'm walking around hating somebody, right? That's why I have a 4-step, right? I don't need to absolve somebody of that. I just want to be free. I want to be free. So anyway, back to the story. One day I was getting a beating with that belt buckle and the switch went off and I never cried again. No one was ever going to ever see me cry. It just, no more emotions, you know. I never had a sense of family ever. There was no sense of community. I never had a grandfather sitting on a log with me with his arm around me teaching me about life. I was just running around with crazy people in the street, either musicians or absolutely just nuts, you know. And I guess one day I got in trouble in Texas and I went to jail. I'd been to a lot of reform schools. And while I was in jail, my father became the commander of Clark Air Force Base and my family moved out of the country. It always gets a little laugh. Isn't that funny in AA that gets a little... If you were at like the Kiwanis Club and you said, my family moved, people would go, oh. Not here. Really? Really? Did you attempt suicide on the front lawn? And we need to laugh about that. And the same page of my favorite page, 132 says that we think for cheerfulness and laughter are useful. Because if you're new and you come in here and it's a drag, why would you want to stay? Right? Can I get a hallelujah? Hallelujah. I just do that to scare people, scare them newcomers. You know what I mean? They're like, what? Yeah, we'll be selling the big book at the airport tonight. Don't come back with that soft literature on you. Make sure you give it all away. We don't do that. So I came out. I come out. There I am. Absolutely nuts. I have nobody, no anchor, no moral compass whatsoever. I'm on the streets, and all I got going for me is playing them drums. Are you really fishing through your phone right there at the front table? Come on, turn that phone over. There. I'm allowed to say that, right? It's just distracting. I got 2 brain cells, and one of them was watching you do that. I'm just having fun. Just having fun. Don't be mad at me. Okay. See, where was I? Yeah, so all I got going for me is that I can play the drums. Right now, I had dreams. When we used to move around a lot, I remember that when my first day in school, they used to pass around these yellow index cards. They're usually yellow, and you had to write on there, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I wanted to be a baseball player, or I wanted to be a pilot. And most of the time I wrote, I want to be a drummer. I never wrote, I want to be on a 72-hour hold with a catheter in me, right? I want to be a newcomer in an AA meeting being told by an ancient person that they spilt more than I drank. Or whatever, I had dreams, I had goals, I had aspirations, and every time I got near them, alcohol had another idea for me, right? Maybe you're new and you're sitting there and you're thinking, well, I don't remember having a drinking problem. Maybe you liked smokable alcohol. Maybe you liked pill form alcohol. Maybe you liked injectable alcohol, right? Maybe, where's the tweakers at? I love the tweak. Where are you? There you go. Vacuum in the ceiling. Right? On carpet patrol. I like the girls on, the girl tweakers that think they look good and they're like a size none. I love them. Got to be organized. We can fix it, but it's not broken. But we can fix it. And the 420 people, where's the Rastafarians at? Where are you at? No Rastafarians in the room? There you go. That non-addictive marijuana. And the pill heads. Do we got the pill heads in the room? Any pill heads? Hello? Don't be shy. Don't be shy. Don't worry. Dr. Bob and Bill took drinks and heavy sedatives. Don't worry. Dr. Paul shot sodium pentothal in the garage and ran into the house. Don't be shy. It's all anti-Danny medication made to take me out of right here, right now. Because right here, right now, I'm afraid. right here, right now, I'm judging and comparing myself to how your outsides and the way I feel, and I lose every time. And what alcohol and drugs did was they took me out of right here, right now, so that I could be in this world, on this planet, right? And so what I would like to say is whatever your problem was, this is a place for you. And we have a solution for you. We do have a solution for you. That's what I want to say. Do you guys agree? There's room for everybody in this room, man. Thank God that Earl didn't give up on me, you know. So anyway, okay. I don't know if there's any other liars in the room. I used to lie so much that I have fond memories of things that never even happened to me, right? I'd be telling you a story, and in the middle of the story, I'm thinking, this might be complete BS. But anyway, so the true part of this story is I was 19 years old in San Antonio, Texas, and Rod Stewart had an audition for a drummer in Hollywood. So I took all my drums, and none of them matched because it was a pawn shop set, right? No cases. And I put them in that, you know, on the Greyhound bus, that thing that lifts up, and you put them on the Greyhound bus, right? And I go out, and I'm going to be Rod Stewart's next drummer. Right? And when I got to L.A., there was a pawn shop open next to the bus station, and all my drums went in there, and I drank up all my dreams. But I told so many people all my life that I played drums for Rod Stewart that still, when Hot Legs comes on the radio, I admire my own drumming. And for a while, I couldn't, I was so impaired. And the book talks about it, where we can no longer distinguish the false from the real. I could not tell. I couldn't have told you. Did I? I'm sure somebody's walked up to him and said, hey, I knew one of your drummers, Danny D. And he was like, I had no Danny D drummer. Why do people keep saying that? Anyway, so there I was on the streets in Hollywood in 1979. 79 with nothing. All I had was a good drinking problem. And I met this woman. I walked in this bar on Hollywood Boulevard. It was one of those dark, divey bars where the only light in there was the colored light coming through the bottles on the shelf. They look so sexy, too. They look like girls, all the shaped bottles. They look like they're in there dancing, And this woman was behind the bar. She looked like Marilyn Monroe. She looked so out of place because it was this crappy, divey, my kind of bar, this biker bar, where there was fist fights going on all the time, and just I could fit right in, I always fit in well with chaos. I didn't stand out when there was chaos, And this woman, I met her. She taught me how to drink 2/5 of Gilby's gin and she showed me just exactly what to eat with it in the morning so that you could keep the booze down but not ruin the buzz. And I admired that in her, that she knew how to do that. So I married her. Right? Those are grounds for marriage right there, right? And boy, that was some crazy, crazy, crazy time. She's not with us anymore. She was on the back of a Harley Davidson, and she was killed by a drunk driver in 1982. And there I was running around just crazy, man. And so many different things were happening to me. It was all just, once in a while, things were okay for like a minute, but they didn't stay. Every time the brass ring, I got to play music with some really great people, but every time the brass ring was right there, you know what it says on page 82 of our book? It says, the alcoholic is like a tornado, roaring his life through others. There's a big horsefly on the podium. Watch this. I don't know if it's ever been done at this Roundup. Did I get him? Yeah. There you go. Guess he won't keep coming back, will he? All right. We're not a glum lot, are we? Isn't it nice to be out of the bathroom? How many people here have been in a holding cell designed for 40 people with 100 people in it? Right? With the only place to sit was a stainless steel toilet. Remember that, Jim? How much better is this? Yeah, I took a bubble bath before I came down tonight. Because complacency kills us here in Alcoholics Anonymous. Some people tend to forget. You know those people that, their lives, AA gives them this big, beautiful life, a house and a car and a wife and a job and a this and that. Now their life that AA has given them now gets in the way of AA. You know those people? Shame on those people. I know this is being recorded. If you're listening to me, shame on you. Shame. Get out of your beautiful house and go to a meeting and reach into hell and pull a newcomer out and take him to a meeting, damn it. Right? Come on. So I'm sitting in the bubble bath, and I'm remembering what it was like to take a shower with 60 guys in less than a minute in San Quentin. I'm remembering what it's like to be on the street, hosing myself up in somebody's backyard, washing everything that I own, waiting for it to dry in a laundry room. I remember that. You remember that? I remember that. Sitting in my boxers or my underwear in a laundromat while everything I own is being washed, right, in a blanket that I took out of another washer. I don't forget that. I always remember that. While I'm eating my beautiful dinner that you guys gave me tonight, I remember that crappy little sandwich and the apple they gave me on the bus, when I had to be chained to somebody. So I never, ever, ever, ever want to forget that, and how blessed and lucky that I am. I see an empty chair in Alcoholics Anonymous, and I think, where is she? Where is he tonight? Why do I get to be here? I know why I get to be here. We got a chapter called Working with Others. That's why. How? I don't know. So, this emotional moment was brought to you by Alcoholics Anonymous. Whew. Feelings are good, man, I love them now. But I used to not. They were my enemy before. I didn't like feelings, man. Where was I? Okay. So here we go. I'm 22 years old. Oh, I was talking about how the alcoholic is, is like a tornado roaring through the lives of others, right? Like that I just couldn't get my life together. I would find some people, I would meet the girl of my dreams. I would get the band of my dreams, and and me and alcohol would show up to the same place. I keep saying, it happened again. No, it didn't happen. I happened again, right? And it was my alcoholism that I didn't know that I had. I just thought I was a terrible, crappy person who was never going to have the capacity to love or receive love because I was a bad person and a loser. And I'd walked around all my life. I remember when I was first given my loser balloon. This is the loser balloon. So you guys are like my age bracket. You remember when we, at the gymnasium in school, at the junior high school dance? And all the guys would be on one side, and all the girls would be on the other. Remember that, Mike? Yeah. And they'd be playing a song, and you got to do the scariest thing for this man to ever do. 2 scary things. Walk into a meeting with greeters at it when you're new. Oh, my God. Not tonight. Or walk across the gymnasium floor and go ask a girl that scary question. Would you like to dance? And she says, I don't like this song. And you take your loser balloon and you walk back across the gymnasium. And everybody gets to see, look, she said no. And during the same song, she's out there with a 6'4" varsity guy with beautiful teeth. And the loser has to walk out on the dance floor and say to her, I thought you said you didn't like this song. And she's, loser balloon. I walked around all my life. I knew that if I locked eyes with you, I would never look you in the eye. The only time I would look you in the eye if I was trying to manipulate you. You have to look somebody in the eye when you're manipulating them, because if you don't look them in the eye, they'll think you're trying to manipulate them. So you got to look them in the eye. But other than that, I would stare at the ground or look at my shoes, because if I locked eyes with you, you would know what a worthless scumbag I was. Do you know what I mean? That's how I felt. I just felt like I had this big bouquet of loser balloons, and anybody that could see me knew that's who I was. See that? Not that guy. So there I am in San Francisco. I'm living on the streets. I got holes in all my teeth. I got mats in my hair. I'm jaundiced from hepatitis A, drinking on top of hepatitis A for like 8 months. I'm the color of iodine because I'm now a wino again. And the only thing I can do to get a drink, one of two things. Either I would run into the liquor store and steal my drink of choice. Then was Night Train. They didn't refrigerate Night Train. It sat on the shelf with the mayonnaise. So it was easy to steal. It was 79 cents, and it did the job, right? It didn't make the voices go away, but it put them far enough back here that I could shuffle through life. It was either that or I would go to the bar, and you know that magical place, Dave, at the bar where the little gold railings are, where you could go up there where the waitress goes to get service? You know that there are some people that don't finish their drink? Did you guys know that? There are some people, maybe even in this room, that think a cigarette floating in a drink is now not a drinkable drink. No, I say. So I would go in the bar with two big Tupperware about this size under my T-shirt. And I would go over there at 10 to 2 when people were allowed to smoke in the bar, and she would go out and bring all these drinks. She was like this fantastic woman, this magical fairy that would bring all the alcohol over there for free. And I would just take, every time she'd go back out, I would quickly take them all and dump them into my thing. And then after I got it full, I would go out behind the bar and take the empty one and put my crappy T-shirt over it and strain all the... Oh, really? 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 Watch this. How many people here have snorted stuff off of a public bathroom before? Look at that. But isn't it funny when we get sober, we're like, is that filtered water? That's gluten-free, right? Really? Let's not forget who we are. How many people here have wet the bed? Ta-da! There's people not raising. You never wet the bed? Never? Yeah. Because you don't get up to go to the bathroom. That might ruin your drunk. You don't want to exert that. Anyway. So, yeah. So some people call that, you know what, doing that whole process, you know, when I was doing things like that. Some people call that pitiful and incomprehensible demoralization, right? Like when I was taking a toilet, unbolt, you know the two bolts on a toilet that hold it to the toilet? When I was taking the toilet off right? Because there's a trap in there. When I was taking it off to get a syringe out of there so I could get it, so I could get it into me, so I could get back to zero, right? Trying to get to zero, the absence of pain. While I was doing things like that, it never occurred to me, dude, what are you doing? I would just think, genius. Right? Some people call it pitiful and incomprehensible demoralization. I call it Tuesday night. Right? The things that we would do in this room, you know. I sponsor this guy, right? And he's telling me about his amends, you know, and he owes this guy that he can't remember because he climbed down this fire escape with a 60-inch plasma TV with one arm. He was so proud of himself, right? But when I ask him, have you read the doctor's opinion yet? He's like, bro, dude, right? But can you get 2 miles from your house to a meeting? No. You know? We talk about, you know, rarely have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed our path. You ever hide something from yourself back in the day and you have to go through every pocket in your house? That was searching, thoroughly searching, right? And I asked myself, how much am I willing to do here compared to, I would roller skate in the rain for a drink. But am I willing to go to those lengths? You know, when I read in Working with Others, when they talk about they would set their house on fire, the furniture would get broken and all that. And I always ask myself, am I doing enough? Am I doing enough in AA? Probably not. I should be doing more. I hope that I can do more. I always want to do more. Every day I will be trying to pay back a debt that I will never be able to pay back in ways that my sponsor will never find out about because he didn't give up on me, you know. So anyway, I was how am I doing? Great. Well, I mean time. I didn't mean how am I doing? Should have like, the Olympic committee where they hold up numbers, Good? Thanks, Bob. Okay, so I'm living in Civic Center Park. I'm wearing everything I owned. I don't know where my family is. I'm not connected to another person. And it wouldn't have mattered if I died. And at this point, my mantra in my brain is never. I'm never going to be nothing. I'm never going to have a wife. I'm never going to have a job. You get to have a job. You get to have a car. You get to be clean. You get to feel nice. You get to have friends. You get to be the one that walks up and people are glad to see. You get to have that. I'm never going to have that, and I deserve the life I have, and I'm just going to live this day, one more day, so I can put a bullet in my father's brain. Right, and once in a while, I'd check into a crappy hotel in the Tenderloin in San Francisco, at Leavenworth and Eddy Street in the Kinney Hotel, and I would either rip the mirror off the wall, or I would soap it up because I just couldn't stand my own image. I hated, whenever I came out of something, I was always too chicken to kill myself. Like I would stand on Market Street and I would watch those buses or the trolleys. They would come in real quick, and I would think, if I just lean just at the right time, I could just end all this. But I was always too chicken. But I never cared if what I was doing killed me. I'm okay with what I'm doing right now. I'm cool with it killing me. And every time I would come out of it in handcuffs or in a strapped down in a bed or laying in the street somewhere, I was so upset that I was still alive and really, really disappointed that I was still me. I just wanted to be anything other than me. And I would sit there on the bench, drinking that wine, looking at people thinking I'd trade with him. I'd trade with her. I'd be her. I'd look at somebody in a wheelchair and I think I would rather be that person right there than to carry around this, I think you get it. So remember, don't worry. Story has a great ending because I end up here. So, I'm sleeping in the street. I'm not having any human contact, and all I can think is that never, 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 And so I was hiding in this phone booth. Do you know we used to have? We used to have phone booths? Can you believe that? We used to have phone booths. We used to have machines that you could call people, and if they weren't home, guess what? The phone would just ring and ring and ring. They didn't even know. They were just out eating their dinner. They weren't taking pictures of it, making people look at it, right? If you wanted to see her cat sleeping, you had to go to her house and look at it. Crazy. So I'm hiding in this phone booth, right? I'm hiding in there so people can't see me because it's daylight. Hated day. I like the night because you couldn't see me. Daylight, spooky. Got to hide somewhere, right? And I'm hiding in there, and I'm always hiding in this one phone booth in Civic Center Park. Busy place to hide. Easy place to get a drink, though. So I'm hiding. Somebody put a bumper sticker in there that says, "Got a drinking problem? Call Alcoholics Anonymous." I never even heard of AA. All those nut houses I've been to, counselors, group homes, reform schools, jail. Not one person ever said to me, "You have a drinking and drug problem. You should go to Alcoholics Anonymous." Never heard of it. So I called, collect, without a coin. And I could still hear,
"Alcoholics Anonymous, this is Judy. Can I help you?"
And all I could say was, that's all I could do. Either I was yelling and screaming at somebody or I was crying. I was not in charge anymore of the meeting. I was 22 years old. I probably looked like I was 50 and not a good 50. And she said, "Do you think you can make it to Bush and Gough Street from Civic Center Park to a meeting? And if you're an alcoholic and there's not a drink at the other end of this trip, that's a long, long way, man." So I'm like, okay, I'm going to go. And my head's trying to talk me out of going there. And it's, like fear of the unknown. It sounds so spooky when you've never been to it. Alcoholics Anonymous, boo, Yeah, I just pictured a lot of police informants with blurred faces and, they're voiced like this, because of the anonymous thing. Because it just sounds weird, What is it? So I walk into that. Now, you ever been, Jim, you ever been somewhere, you ever walked into a bar that you think is the first time you've ever walked in, don't remember being there, and the first thing they say, "You, out." Right? Apparently, something bad happened when I was here on a blackout. So I walked into my very first AA meeting, and this big, ginormous dude, twice the size of you with the beard, like a nose guard on a football team, sees me, stops talking to the people, and starts kind of walking fast towards me. And I think, uh-oh, I've been here before. Right? And and I'm going to give him my best, Clint Eastwood, but I look like that chick on Speed. I'm like, and he comes over and he says, he does the one thing. If he'd have hit me with a chair or wanted a fist fight, I'd have been ready for that. But he did something I completely wasn't expecting. He said, I love you, and gave me a hug. And I said, don't ever do that again, dude. And he picked me up again off the ground and held me. I was completely powerless. Said, I love you. You're welcome here. And then this woman walked over. She was like, she had this little Florence Henderson hairdo. Google it. She looked like a mom, right? All she was missing was like a plate of chocolate chip cookies, right? She had a sweater on. She came over. She put her arms around me. She had a vibe kind of like you, Debbie, right? She had like this mom. And this reminds me, if you lost your mom or your dad or your uncle or your kids, you can get them right here. There are moms and dads and brothers and sisters. We're a family. We are a family here. The closest I've spent way more time with you than I ever did with my family. Right? And I love you. And there's nothing you can do about it. Love you. And each one of you are going to come up and you're going to give me a hug. Everybody. Dudes too. Please don't give me that dude hug. That smack. I've been through Harley accidents and I don't need that. Don't pick me up because I got back problem. Just give me a nice hug. Even if you don't like what you hear when you hear it from the podium, you thank the speaker because you're saying, thank you, AA, for saving my life, right? Amen? Amen. See you at the airport. So yeah, Peg came up to me. Peg, she put her arms around me. She said, you don't have to feel like you're feeling if you don't want to, and you don't have to do what you're doing. And I just shattered, man. I just fell apart, and I'd go to that meeting every night. Every night I'd go there, and I know when I was walking in, I was thinking, damn dude's going to hug me, man. Because, when was I ever, the only human contact I was having was somebody kicking my feet, telling me to get out of the doorway, or when the cops have you here, and they're checking you. That was it. That's the human contact. There's no other contact, right? And here he comes. Oh, you don't. And he'd pick me up. I love you, and put me down. And he did that every night for a month. Every night. And one night I walked in, man, and I walked in, and he was right over there. And I'm like, okay, here it comes. It's okay. It's okay. He didn't come. He's just standing over there with those dudes. And I was like, hey. I went from, hey, to, hey. Where's my hug? Now when big guys hug me, I don't care. I lift my leg like that, nuzzle. Because Alcoholics Anonymous has afforded me, see, the 12 steps, they don't teach me how to be spiritual. I was born spiritual. Anybody that has children that's ever held a little baby knows that that's a spiritual, perfect little pure ray of light. And I was like that. I came into this world perfect and spiritual. And then I adopted a self and an ego and fear, right? But AA gives me 12 specific steps that teach me how to break down self. So if I remove self and ego, what's left? Hey. I get to be the gentle, kind, loving man. Now, know this. I boxed. Mixed martial arts for 20 years. I walked around my whole life going, you got a problem? I hope you want to do something about it. Long days for Danny. I'm the guy that got cut off by a guy and followed him for 25 miles into his driveway and pulled him out of his car. That was me. Always at the mercy of fools. Always willing to give it up. Give up my freedom and my serenity and my peace, my state of mind for anybody that looked at me sideways. Ring a bell, Jim? Right? Now I get to be the first guy who looks you in the eye and smile at you, right? I can connect with you. I can, I learned here about this thing is the circle and this triangle, right? Most of us, we learned here you could put a circle and triangle on anything here and sell it at a conference, right? I'm not putting down the table. Trust me, I own half the stuff that's on the table. I'm wearing 2 rings right now, right? So, but I came here and I found out about that circle and triangle. I found out that it's an ancient symbol, right? This mind, body, and spirit, and therein lies a whole human being seeking the balance that I never had, right? In 1955, we adopted that symbol. It's a nice word for stealing, right? It's like adopting a car, adopting a girlfriend. And we showed it off at the convention, right? And we changed it to unity and recovery and service, right? So unity is the first side of the triangle. Unity is the body. I got to bring it to a meeting, right? I can't stay sober, but we seem to be able to. And I can unite with people everywhere, right? Everywhere I'm at. I can just smile at somebody. I can be in a car, sitting next to somebody, and just smile. And if they smile back, guess what? We got a little connection right there. What a cool way, and it feels good. And think about it. All I was ever trying to do was feel better. And I could feel better. Now, you ready for the secret? I'm going to give you the secret, if you're new. The secret to staying sober. Because this isn't about stopping drinking. We've all stopped. It's about staying stopped. It's about how can I be comfortable standing where I'm standing sober and stay stopped. Are you ready? The constant thought of others. What? The constant thought of others. What does that have to do with me? Right. Right? Page 62. Selfish self-centeredness, that we think is the root of my trouble. What is the contrary action of self? Being thoughtful to you. All I have to do is be thoughtful. Am I great at it? No. But am I better than I was? Yes. Am I willing to be better than it? Yes. Right? Am I useful? Yes. Because when I was sitting in that hotel wishing that I was dead, I knew that the only person that I was going to affect if I died was the 2 guys that came and zipped me up, put me in a bag, and took me away. I was a burden to anyone and everything. So, I didn't stay. I had a hard time staying sober, and I started in 1985. 8 years of I sponsor myself. You've seen those people at meetings, right? They're over there in the with a rope for a vein sticking out of their forehead over here. Do you want what I have? Those guys. Like the guy in the skit wearing the red shirt last night. Where's he at? The person he was playing. That was me, man. 8 years. Getting to meetings late, leaving meetings early, asking girls, would you like to go to coffee? You know what that means, right? And boy, they'd say, boy, would I not like to go to coffee with you. And I would leave the meeting early because I didn't know how to chit-chat. How do you chit-chat with people? I didn't know how to do that. And, of course, I was going to drink again. And on my 8th birthday, I went to a meeting, and I was one of these big dudes, big muscular, muscle-bound dude. Like the only person that thinks it looks good is another big dude. You know what I mean? What's up? How you doing? And I got up there, and I told AA, you don't work. AA doesn't work. You're all a bunch of... Won't say those words here. Right? Called them all. I told every dude, anybody's got a problem, any dude's got a problem with this, I'll be right out there like Jake LaMotta. Right there. Animal. Come on out. We'll take care of your problem. And I went out that night, and my 8 years of untreated alcoholism was gone. And for 15 years, I stayed out. Every single day, I wanted to not drink, and I could not drink. I couldn't do it. And a lot of terrible things right away. Terrible things happened. I broke both of my heel bones. I kept going to Thalian's Mental Center, kept going to Glendale Adventist, on alcoholic psychotic episodes. They said I was combative. Were you ever combative? Are there any other combative people here? Oh, yeah. In around 1995 or something, like I had this great band, and I me and Southern Comfort and Klonopin showed up at this big gig and ruined this band. Great band. I was the front man. I'm not a drummer anymore. I'm a singer now. And I don't know why that's funny. So anyway, in the big book how it talks about we as men, for some reason, have the ability or the luck to attract, I'm paraphrasing, some of the most beautiful and amazing women in the world. And by the way, all the respect that I have for Al-Anon. May I say thank you for loving us, right? Thank you for loving the unlovable, right? Maybe you're sitting in and you're thinking, I can't read two wives. I was never a wife. You know what I call that chapter? To anybody that ever tried to love me. I read that thing and I look at it from that perspective of all the people who I just ran rampant over their life, who cared about me. The only people that were left in my life, I was down to less than 2 probably when I met Vicky. So I was living with this girl named Vicky Smart, right? She was like 12 or 14 years sober, and I was living with her, and I owned 4 things. A Honda Civic, some tools, because I'm an electrician, a red-nosed pit bull named Brooklyn, and a terrible attitude towards Alcoholics Anonymous. And every night she would pull her car around, and I'd get off of work, and I'd drink 10 king-size Coronas, I'd smoke a 1/4 ounce of OG Kush, and I'd take all the Klonopin I could take. That was a normal night for me, right? Just trying to get to zero, just trying to be able to go to sleep. And she'd pull around, and she'd say, I'm going to a meeting tonight, Danny. And I'd say, you know those people that go online and write terrible things about AA that call us a cult and all that? I'd say, a bunch of blah, 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 blah. Screw them. Tell them, here, give them this for me, And she'd just go, okay, and she'd take off. And one night she pulled around and I knew it would be coming. I'd be drinking and the lights would go on in the garage. And I'd go, here she comes. Car'd pull around, window's going to go down. She said, hey, Danny. She moved over into the passenger seat. Now she's talking to me from the passenger seat. She said, I'll keep washing your clothes. I'll keep feeding your dog. You can keep sleeping in my bed. I'll keep paying your rent for you. I'll keep being your girlfriend. But if you don't go to a meeting with me tonight, it all ends. It's kind of drastic, isn't it? Shit, pushy. So guess what I did? Got in the car, went there, me and my loser balloon. About 10 of them by this time. She takes me to this meeting, it's called Rodeo. Back when it was on Rodeo. Imagine this room about 6 times over the people. They all have Gucci, Prada, Dolce & Gabbana, veneered teeth, and they're all just doing way better than you, And I'm sitting there like Pigpen from the Peanuts, you know what I mean? And I'm sitting right there on the aisle, and I know I don't deserve the chair, the air in the room. And I remember I had 8 years. I'm going in and out, in and out, in and out. People are always saying things to me like, how many days do you got now, Danny? How is that unity? That is not unity, right? That's division. Embarrassing and humiliating. On page 91, if I'm not mistaken, of our book, it says, see your man alone. Right? And there's a good paragraph right there about 12-stepping somebody, right? We don't humiliate people. We do the opposite of that. We go out and find the guy furthest from the door at a meeting, and we ask him, how you doing, man? You okay? You got a seat? Right? That every time my mouth opens in a meeting, I hope somebody goes, man, I felt like that, and I think I can do it. That's what I came to tell you. If you're new here tonight, you can do this. You're looking at the guy that was never going to stay sober. You're looking at the guy that everybody told Earl, give up on him, man. He ain't never going to make it. And you know why Vicky took me there that night? Guess who the speaker was at Rodeo? My sponsor. And he started talking, and it was like a close-up in a movie. It was like, oh my God, I had been to thousands of meetings and the guy was talking straight to me. And for the first time in my life, it was like Field of Dreams voice, All of a sudden, I just heard, maybe. What? I asked the guy next to me, what? Maybe. My own head said, maybe. Maybe what? Maybe you can do it, Danny. Maybe you can stay sober. Maybe you can be your daughter's dad. Maybe it'll matter that you've lived. Maybe you can be useful. Maybe you can do it, dude. Maybe. And it was just a tiny little, when you put a cover on a candle right before it goes out. It was just a tiny little, but it was something. It was something. It was a glow. And I walked up to that dude and I said, will you sponsor me? And he said, yes, I will. And he started sponsoring me. He he didn't tell me about AA. You know, he didn't tell me to go do stuff. He showed me AA. He said, come on, let's set up the chairs. He always let me know that there was a chair he didn't say, you haven't called me in 4 days, so I'm firing you. What? Firing? I didn't know there was any money changing hands. I thought it says, when anyone, anywhere, I am responsible, right? That my job is to extend the hand. That's it. I have the honor of helping you. That's what I get. This is a privilege and an honor to be here, to be asked to come and do this, to be able to be in my lineage. Earl, the late, great Donald Madden, Norm Alpe, Chuck Chamberlain, Bill W. I get to come here and carry this message that we together can overcome this thing. That look at these people. Look at a room full of dead people, right? And here we all are, cleaned up, well-behaved, being nice to each other, right? It's pretty amazing, isn't it? Man, that guy, man, I want to tell you about my sponsor. He would wait 7 hours in line for me at the county jail to see me for 4 minutes. He would drive across California just to see me in an institution for 15. He'd stay up with me all night long on the phone while I was nuts. On Christmas Eve. The last time I was in a mental center in Glendale, Venice on Christmas Day, 2007. Cops were bouncing me off the ground. Then I ended up, the 9 people holding me down. Then you wake up and it's all different. It's all la, little piece of paper says, you have the right to refuse shock treatment. Okay. Not ruling that out. You have the right to refuse a lobotomy. Well, definitely not going for that, right? And this woman, there was a catheter in me. And she's getting ready to remove the catheter. So she's got my attention. And she says, have you ever thought of going to Alcoholics Anonymous? And I say, all of a sudden, sense of entitlement, right? Total, I go to AA. I have the greatest sponsor in the world. His name's Earl. And at that very moment, he walks in the door and says, and aren't I doing a great job? True story. Call him up and ask. And the point is that man never gave up on me. He never, ever gave up on me. I'd be out there crazy, and he'd call me, and he'd tell me, I love you, Danny. He'd just reach in, and he'd squeeze me a little bit, squeeze my heart just enough to keep me going, just to keep me floating, give me some hope, And so this is how I joined AA. So I was going in and out. And finally, on February 18th, 2008, I drank my last beer, MGD, a can of Miller Genuine Draft. I had weaned myself off of 30 a day, 29 a day, 28 a day. I weaned myself off down to 1, and I knew that 1 was going to be my last one. I just knew it. I was done. Like on page 30 where it says, right, we learned that we had to fully concede to our innermost self that we were alcoholic. This is the first step to recovery, right? I knew I had to tap out. And I tapped out, and I was done. I knew that I was done. I knew that was my last drink. And I went to a meeting. So I had been to thousands of meetings. I went to my home group. Do you guys have participation meetings here where you can't raise your hand? Where you got to be called on? Do you have any of those? Got to get called on. It's a great place to get a resentment, right? Oh, really? I got to be good enough to be called on by you. My home group, good old AA, Sherman Oaks, went there. I moved to Studio City just because that's where Earl was. If Earl moved to the basement of the Empire State Building, that's where I would have been because he was the only thing that I had in the world. That was all I had, right? And I knew that all of you were a bunch of filthy liars, all of you. But I knew he wasn't, and I believed that he believed, right? So I'm at my home group. This is how I joined AA. I've been to thousands of meetings, thousands. I'm sitting in this meeting. You know, when you go to those meetings and you have to lead a participation meeting and they tell you, by the way, hey, you're leading tonight, but whatever you do, don't call on Fred. He's nuts. And every once in a while, somebody forgets and they call on Fred and the whole room goes, oh. Like you, right? I had become the guy that should not be called on in my home group. The angry guy that Earl sponsors is what they called me. So I'm sitting there, and this woman goes, would you like to share? And you could hear everybody go, and I turned to Earl and I go, can I say whatever I want? He goes, go ahead. And I said, you know what? You're all a bunch of, especially you, you know. In fact, if I was on fire right now, there isn't one in here that would pee on me. And I was pissed. Nobody said nothing. Except this woman, Margie, 2 rows behind me, she said, I'd pee on you, Danny. And you know what happened? The whole room laughed, and I caught myself laughing too. I was like laughing at my own expense. And I felt the chip that I'd been carrying around my shoulder. It fell off my shoulder. And right then, my maybe turned into, yes! Oh, I want to be in AA. Hell yes. Come on. Yes. Yes. Hey. Dude, I can do it. I can do this. I can do this. Hell yes. I was so excited. It had been like the first time I'd ever been to an AA. Like they just took the blanket off my head. You know? It turned into like a Labrador where, you know, when you go to somebody's house and they go, whatever you do, don't throw the ball. I turned into one of those dogs. Like, hey. You know? And like, so I waited for everybody to move away from my sponsor, and I ran up to him and I go, dude, for the first time in 15 years, I say, what do you want me to do? And he goes, you know those guys when you go to a meeting, I'm not putting anybody down, but you know those guys, sometimes a big muscle guy, like the first thing you meet about them is their neck, you know? And they got tattoos all over their face, you know? The only thing they're missing is like a sign that says, don't even try talking to me, you know what I mean? And Earl said, I go, what do you want me to do? He goes, go say hi to that guy. And in my head, I'm thinking, look at him. That's the dumbest idea ever. But somehow, I turned into Forrest Gump. I said, okay. Right? Go over there and stuck my hand out. Said hi to him. Contrary action. Right? I do what I don't want to do, and I don't do what I would like to do. Non-actions for me are usually my contrary action, right? There's a lot of people doing life sentences that wish they could have paused when agitated, right? It's that little tiny space in time, right? It's getting a little heated right now, hon. When you talk about that line where it says getting a little heated, I always imagine the couch going out the window, you know? Yes, it is getting a little heated, isn't it? With all your stuff on the lawn. So, you know, when you're new and you hear the laughter, what she's saying is, yeah, me too. That's me too. That's me too. We gotta connect, because I got this thing. The greater aspect of my disease is the beast, right? It's the mental obsession. I have this thing that's looking for the difference. That's why they say look for the similarities. I can walk in here, I can come in here to a speaker meeting on a Saturday night that I go to a regular speaker meeting. They have a seat saved for the speaker. I can look at the speaker, never having heard him before, and go, sucks. Sweater vest. How am I going to relate to that? We are the epitome of contempt prior to investigation. You know, Danny, would you like to? No. You haven't even heard it yet. Just no. I don't want to. I don't like you, and I don't want to, and stay away. Right? So I started contrary action. I started, the scariest thing at my meeting, the greeters. Oh, my God. There was only one way in my meeting, and there were 6 greeters 6 greeters at the door. That's a lot, right? But come on. And they're greeting. The kind of greeters, they look like the guy in the Extends commercial, like that guy. They look like they're on some weird acid. They're greeting you like 20 steps before you're even there. They're like, and you're like, Jesus, God. They're going to ask you questions like, how are you? And they're, do you have a big book? Do you have a seat? Do you have a sponsor? I'm like, Jesus, So I said to Earl one night, I go, man, that's greeters, man. And he said, looks like a pretty good commitment. My sponsor translator turned that into, you better do that or you will die. Okay. So now I'm a greeter at the door of my Monday night group of people I can't stand. And the only person that I love is my sponsor. And I'm greeting people at the door. They come in and I'm like, how you doing? I hope you don't share tonight. You know, it's just like, One night, I was about 9 months sober or something. And I'm like, a contrary action. Not only am I going to go to that dumb meeting with those dumb people, I'm going to buy those damn people donuts. And I swipe my card. And it says, please contact Financial Center. That's not good. That's not like you have too much money, Danny, and you need another account. No. It's called a quick express lane to the 8th and 9th step right there. That's called a man who's never paid his taxes and owed the IRS $70,000, right? So now I have the biggest problem in the world because it's my problem. We're kind of dramatic. Us alcoholics, you know what I mean? Just a little bit. I'm on the phone with Earl. I'm driving this Ford Ranger. It's got all these dents in it because I drank. It's got whiskey wrinkles all over it, you know what I mean? And I'm punching the steering wheel of my car so hard I don't know how the airbag didn't deploy. And I'm telling him they took my money. And he says, Danny, just go to the meeting and do your little commitment. And he's the only person in the world that I would say, okay. I'm thinking all this other stuff, but I would never, ever to that man. Never. Whew. So I go to the meeting and I go do my little commitment and fast forward about a month later or so. I'm an electrician. I was working at the W Hotel and it was 117 degrees in the valley, like 20 days in a row or something. And I'm sitting in my apartment and I'm not feeling the gift. I'm not feeling the miracle. Everything's a miracle. And you're going to meetings listening to rich people's problems, right? The 3-car garage door got stuck. I can't decide between the mahogany or the cherry wood floor, and I'm wondering how am I going to pay my damn rent, but I'm acting better than I feel, and I'm being attentive to everybody, and I'm being kind because I don't want to be asked to leave because it's the only place I have left. And I'm sitting there, and the phone rings, and it's my sponsor. When your sponsor calls, if you're doing eye surgery, you put a towel on the head, you answer the phone because that's your sponsor. And he says, meet me at the corner of Reseda and Ventura Boulevard. And I say, okay. And I jump off the shrimp boat and I just go see my sponsor, right? And I'm just beaten. The only thing I believe in is I believe that Earl believes, and that's it. And it's enough. And I'm wearing my dirty Carhartts from work, and it's 1,000,000 degrees. And I got no air conditioning, and I got to go to the dumb meeting. And there's Earl's waiting in the parking lot, and he's holding a piece of paper like about this big. And I had to park. I always park a block away because I'm ashamed of my car. And I walk up, and Earl's waving this thing around. And I'm like, hey, man, what's happening, man? He goes, this is for you. And I'm like, well, what is it? Earl's very animated. He's like, open it and find out, right? And I open it up. It's a stack of money. I'm like, dude, I don't want your money, man. You have helped me for 15 years, man. He said, read it. It says, this is an anonymous gift. Keep it or pass it on. He said, you know all those people you hate at the Monday night group? You know all the people that you can't stand that wouldn't pee on you if you're on fire? They found out that you have a problem, Danny. They found out that you can't pay your rent. They found out that you can't make a truck payment. And they love you, and they don't want you to leave. So they got together before the meeting last week, and they took up a collection for you. And you can make 2 months car payment so that you can be on your feet. And I started holding the dam back because, I got to hold my mud. I'm in broad daylight with a man, you know what I mean? Wearing work clothes, So I give him a hug real quick, and I don't even deserve a yo-yo, you know what I mean? Low self-esteem at this point was a goal for me, right? You give me this. So I take it from him, give him a hug, and I run away. And as I run over to my car, as I'm getting there halfway across the parking lot, Earl says to me the most important thing that any man has ever said to me. He yells, Danny, you're part of something now. Oh, no, just the damn brakes, man. I can't hold the mud no more. I'm just boo-hooing. I get in the truck real quick, and I'm just crying. I'm holding on to that paper, man, holding it just like this. And I can't even start my car. I can't start the truck. I'm just crying so hard. Finally, I get the truck started, and I'm driving, and I have another episode a block away. I can't move. Cars are honking at me. I'm sitting through 2 green lights because I cannot drive. I'm just so overcome with the fact that I've been accepted and loved into a community and I know that I'm going to be able to do it. And this little woman next to me, she goes, "Are you okay, dear?" And I said, "I'm part of something." She just said, "All right." And I drove home, man, and I took that. Hey, Jim, remember when we had how you put stuff up in a cell? You take toothpaste, I put it on the 4 corners of that, stuck it on my mirror because now I can keep the mirror closed because I don't mind looking at myself because I'm now engaging in esteemable acts like greeting and going to my meetings and setting up and helping people and being of service so I can stand looking at my own image, right? And I'm doing the work and I'm asking people to forgive me, so I'm starting to understand forgiveness. And I'm acting loving, so I'm now experiencing what it's like to feel love, right? So I look at that and it reminds me every time I brush my teeth that don't have holes in them anymore, thank you, AA, that I'm part of something, that I can do this. And you're new and you're sitting here and you don't think you can do it. And I'm telling you again that you can do this. We can do this together. Me plus you is a power greater than ourselves. There's this beautiful thread. Don't you feel it right now? Don't you feel that love? It's the force of being gentle and kind is the most incredible, powerful force that I've ever got to know. And Alcoholics Anonymous has taken a man that stands before you that doesn't think the same way, that doesn't feel the same way, that doesn't act the same way. I'm not the same person. Because of Alcoholics Anonymous, because of you, because of a man that didn't give up on me, and another alcoholic didn't give up on him. It was just one man talking to another man, showing each other AA. That's all. I love you. Thank you. All right. Okay. I'm sorry I ruined all your paper right there. I'm sorry.